What's going on, everyone on LinkedIn? Looks like we're live. And we got Paul here. We got Timothy, Jeremy, and Aldric. And we're excited to have everyone join us tonight. And tonight we're talking about mental health. So we're excited about this. And we got our special guest, Paul. So, hey, why don't we start off tonight? Paul, why don't you give us a high level of what you do? And so Paul and I are both here in Kansas City. And I actually just started following his content. And every morning when I have a down day, somehow he pops on my feed on LinkedIn. And I really enjoy his singing. So it just puts a smile on my face, man. So tell us a little about what you do and your company. Go.
Well, what's good, Kevin? And everybody on LinkedIn, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. Before I get too much into myself, I just want to say, if I'm ever struggling with ego, I know who to reach out to, because each one of you gentlemen has reached out to me personally to not just or only introduce yourself, but to share some very thoughtful words. So it means a lot to me. And we are the company that we keep. So I aim to make friends today. A little bit about myself. I am a keynote speaker, a master of shenanigans and all things fun. And you asked me to tell a little bit about what I do. I help individuals and organizations reveal the opportunity that they have in life to have just a little more fun. So I do that through a number of different ways, through keynotes, webinar experiences, live events, workshops, and as you stated, silly videos, Kevin.
That's awesome. And hey, if you guys haven't checked out Paul's feed, he's very consistent. I think there's one every day. Always a great message, right? So let's start. So today we could talk about mental health. I know we've been globally, on a global level, even Aldric and Jeremy in Singapore, we've been stuck at home. So it's not just a US thing, it's a everywhere thing, right? So when you're stuck at home, you see all the media, you start seeing all the negativity, and it drives you crazy, right? But I think mental health goes beyond just right now. It's always been around, it's just people don't talk about it. It's kind of a hot topic during this time. It's trending. And so how much does mindset play in our day-to-day? Let's start with Aldric. So we haven't heard from him yet.
I'm listening. I'm always listening. And I'm very glad that we have Paul in the show, right? And very soon you'll realize that just all four of us, we are mentally deranged. But and I guess the thing is, with relevance to what Paul is doing and what we are trying to address today in our live show, is that it's actually okay if we have our own little quirks. It's okay if we have our own little obsessions here and there. That doesn't really mean that there's something wrong with us, right? Giving an example, I think in recent years there's an explosion in terms of kids that are diagnosed with ADHD, like attention deficit hyper disorder, something like that. Oh, come on. If I were to put all of us to do boring clerical work for 10 hours a day in school or at home, your toes are going to fidget, right? There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with I want to do something else. I want to play a game, right? So, this topic is kind of weird because I never really thought about it, but I'm starting to realize that that there are a lot of such diagnoses, and that it's very easy to actually fall into each of these categories, just like the ADHD example that I gave you. That's what I think. And that let's say if someone is too positive, everyone's gonna say there's something wrong with him, right? I thought his business just went bust, and then why is he still smiling? I don't understand. So I think mindset as a consideration for mental health as a topic is important. And at the same time, it's also about not rushing into the diagnosis of things and just using a standard template to categorize people. because then everyone is going to be like mentally deranged of some sort, right? I don't really appreciate that. Oh, that's what I think. I mean, before we actually get into the core of what we are discussing today. Yeah, that's me. Right,
Perfect.
Jeremy, you want to go next? Jeremy, you want to go next?
You sure you want me to go?
Why
Yep.
not?
Are
Tell
you
me how.
mentally?
Yes,
Yes.
Why not?
go for it.
I'm just really gonna take a dark turn, you know. So let all the positivity go first before I turn dark, you know.
No. Paint the darkest picture ever possible, and then let's see if we can shine a beam of light through the darkness.
Okay, here goes. Here goes. Right. Be prepared, huh? Now we're gonna talk about mental health, and honestly, I'm not an expert. I don't think any of us are, in terms of professionally trained and all. But that's not what this show is about. We're here to share perspective, and I do have something to share in terms of mental health perspective. I may not look the part, but I do think that I have once or twice, went into depression, that kind of a situation. Well, the most recent case is when I was posted back to Singapore. After working in China for 9 years, I was jobless for more than a year. Nothing seemed to work, and I just felt that I was going into this cycle of darkness. I refer it as a really dark place and a dark time. And yes, I do think that the conversations I have with myself, it's very important. I don't know, Kevin, if you could relate to this, because I heard you say that you've been through something like that before as well. And just to make it easy for people to comprehend. I mean, I really do not wish anyone has to go through anything that's close to depression. But it goes to a state whereby it's kind of like, it's kind of like a nightmare that you never wake up from. You could sleep 10 hours a day. You could do the things that you love to do while you are not in depression for 8-10 hours straight. Like for me, I like to be on my games, computer games and all that. I can do that for 10 hours, but I still don't feel a thing. That's kind of like how it is. And you just don't feel anything. You just don't feel that you are capable of being happy. You're not capable of having positive thoughts. And it just spirals really quick, and all of a sudden you have really dark thoughts about where you be going, where is there meaning. You wake up but there's no meaning at all. You might want to go back to sleep, and nothing gets through you. Not your spouse, not your kids. It's just as dark as that. And I'm just glad I snapped out of it. And like I mentioned in my post prior to this event, right? It's all in the mind, all the good and the bad. And I do feel that when you are in depression, no one can talk you out of it except yourself, because everyone else is out of your world, out of your circle. You're just in this bubble of darkness, and you don't even you don't even want to seek help. I feel it's just like you just want to be in this, trapped in this forever. You don't want to get out until you finally do. And it's all up here. So sorry if I turn the mood very somber, but that's just my little sharing. Yeah,
That's fine.
No, yeah. I mean, I don't mean to cut in, but I understand what you're talking about, Jeremy. I've been in that place, and I know exactly what that feels like. So, you're right. I mean, you have to get yourself out of it. Every now and again, a friend can help you out of it. Maybe a friend can kick you in the ass and say, hey, get your shit together. And you're like, all right, something's wrong. If my friend, who normally doesn't care that much, is telling me, hey, get my act together. And then that's when the light bulb goes off, and you take a moment to yourself, and you kind of realize, all right, let me back up and see what's going on in my head, so I can try to get myself out of this place. But no, I definitely understand what you're talking about, Jeremy, and I think mindset is super important. There's a lot of stuff that happens in the day-to-day for all of us, and really mindset is what conquers those thoughts and those feelings sometimes, because there's times when you just have a really rough day, and a rough day can spiral if you let it. So it's really important to take those moments and kind of appreciate the victories that you do have in your life, and take a step back and say, well, you know what, whatever that was, that wasn't that bad. And that was kind of what I learned from my bouts with depression. It was like, whatever's going on, sometimes you look at it and you think, all right, it's not that bad. I mean, you look at this pandemic, right? Thank God we're all safe and secure. All of us are good right now. But you think about all the people who are struggling and the people who have died, and you got to look at it and say, okay, well, it can definitely be worse. So whatever the hell I'm going through right now, it ain't that damn bad. And that's how I kind of cope with things like that.
That's good. You, Paul?
So Aldric, you did a phenomenal job casting the challenge out to Jeremy, saying, throw down the gauntlet and let's see if we can shed a light on this thing. And you know what? I will say, Jeremy, I admire you so damn much. We just met, and humility is one of the greatest leadership traits anybody could have.
Mm-hmm.
For you to bare your soul and be vulnerable and talk about those darkest days, from a place almost of a mindset that you're in the minority as opposed to the majority, I guarantee you that every individual watching this LinkedIn right now, and everybody on this live feed, of all 6 of us, has dealt with moments in our lives as you just outlined. It's common. And what's sad is it's so faux pas to talk about. It's so outside of the norm to either talk about your problems or seek help, because we believe that we're invincible. We believe that we have to be the social media guru. We believe that we have to be the pillar of excellence to lead our organization, when in reality, those aren't the people that I want to do business with. Those aren't the people that I want to call friends. I want to call individuals in my life friends who will be vulnerable and be open and be honest. So I want to revisit a couple of things that you said, Jeremy, if you don't mind, because I think folks that would relate to this. So you mentioned that depression was as dark as death, and there was nothing you could do. You could sleep for 10 hours a day, and even the things that gave you strength, i.e. video games, didn't lift you up out of that funk.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeremy, you know how funk is spelled? You know how you spell funk?
F-U-N-K?
F-U-N-K.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we get out of that funk, if you will? Well, first of all, I had this epiphany moment the other day when I was playing video games with my son. And our son is 4 years old, and he's super frustrated. And I go upstairs and I hear this blood-curdling scream. And I go downstairs and I go, Brennan, what is going on? And he goes, I died, Dad. And I said, buddy, like, that's inevitable. You're going to die in the game. That's the point. I was like, this game isn't that serious. He goes, you get mad like this when you're playing video games. Yeah. 4 years old. Hey, they're paying attention, aren't they, Kevin?
Yep.
So here's my point. Video games are really, really fun, but sometimes video games could add a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. They don't necessarily take us outside of our head. They create additional problems, additional challenge. So my perspective, and this is only one person's opinion, how much does your mind play in every day? It plays whatever role you want it to play. This world could be whatever you want to see. If you want to see all the stuff that's not working, if you want to live in those darkest days, if you want to be bogged down by depression, anxiety, and fear, then all of that depression, anxiety, and fear is going to find you. No matter where you go, it's going to find you. You're a magnet to it because you're looking for it. Now, mind you, goodness is happening all around you. There are fantastic things happening to you, for you, and around you all the time. But because we are so hypersensitive to the stuff that's not working, we aren't seeing the things that are. Here's my point. I have an uncle by the name of Richard. He he battles mental illness like nobody else that I've met in my life. This gentleman is basically a hermit. He lives in his house. He never comes out. He always needs somebody to either bring his groceries for him or take him to the doctor or whatever it may be. He's alone in his head all the time. He's in his head nonstop. So my mom goes to pick him up for a doctor's appointment recently. And my Uncle Richard is driving the truck that he's driven for 15 years. And he's just going on and on and on about the stuff that's not working. And I don't mean to downplay that. I'm providing you an example. He's just going on and on about all the stuff that's terrible in life. And my mother says to him, she says, Dick, can we turn the radio on and listen to some good music? He said, Martha, the radio hasn't been on in this truck in 10 years. The radio hasn't been on in this truck in 10 years. Now, let me showcase what I'm trying to convey or communicate. When there's no music and there's dead silence and you're alone in your head and your thoughts are caroming downhill, there's nothing to pull you out of that rut.
Yeah.
In those moments, Jeremy and Kevin and Aldric and Tim, we have to force ourselves up and to do something that maybe at the time doesn't sound that great. Yeah, we want to play video games, but maybe we should go outside and go on a walk with our family. When was the last time you guys threw rocks? When was the last time you skipped down the street? When was the last time you wrote a poem? When was the last time you made yourself laugh? These are all things that challenge your brain to get out of this space. Not the comfortable, monotonous stuff that you do all the time, but the stuff that's going to challenge you out of this negative headspace. So the very long-ended answer to your question, what role does mindset play? Every role you want it to.
That's so good.
Awesome.
That's so good. And and that, I think Paul's absolutely right, and that's kind of my take as well. So I went through a time in 2008 where I lost my father, my business, lost my everything, right? I lost my house, and it was all gone, and at the time, because I was a young entrepreneur in my late 20s, and I was quite successful in my hometown. And during that time, I was, I had a lot of relationships, like friends, but they didn't mean much, because when I lost everything, I didn't see any of them. They stopped calling,
I get that.
It got really quiet, right? And you come to a place of realization, right? What are things that are important, right? And you start questioning yourself. And I learned, hey, I can either stay in my house or that they're about to take away from me and just feel sorry for myself and be depressed and do nothing. And I went on a time where I would actually just sleep in. I would stay up till 2 or 3 and just feeling sorry for myself. And then I would wake up the next day at 3 or 4, and I was just depressed. And I had some money saved up, but, I was going through some bankruptcy. People were collecting debt, calling me. I finally just shut my phone off. I shut everything off and just recalibrating, And I learned, dude, no one says success is what's going to make you happy. No one says you have to own a successful business. No one says you have to have the most beautiful wife or the biggest house or the nicest car, or, hey, these are the right friends to have because they're the who's who in your town. No one gives a care, because at the end of the day, it's all about Kevin. It's taking care of number one. And I learned something. I was like, I am the one that's going to take care of me. I need to motivate myself to get out of the house, change the way I do things. And I remember for myself, I walked into church, and that's when I met my wife, right? But that wouldn't have happened if I didn't take the step to get out of my house and feel sorry for myself, right? And I think one of the key things that Paul brought up is, in order to get out of that funk in your head, you had to take action. And that's everything, right? And this group's called Bottoms Up Perspective. mental health and all this stuff is based on our perspective. You know, what we think is good, right? What we think is happy. And why are you allowing people around you on social media or the media tell you what's happy for you? You know, I never got that, because as soon as my brain shifted, my life started changing. I started rebuilding. It was okay to go fry chicken at my uncle's fast food restaurant after being an entrepreneur who made 6 figures. It was okay because I didn't care what those friends think. I was like, I need to pay my bills. I need to pay for my apartment. So I went and fried some chicken, you know, and guess what? I met one of my best friends there, and we're still friends today, you know, and we talk to each other. I was frying chicken at my uncle's restaurant after owning a restaurant and bar that made almost $500,000, you know, but I met one of my best friends there. But all those things couldn't have happened if I didn't change my perspective. And I think that's so important when it comes to mental health. I think so oftentimes we get affected by the people that are around us, what people think. And yeah.
Can I add to that? Because you're bringing gold right now. And to expand upon that a little bit, one of my favorite quotes a gentleman told me years ago: "Don't worry about what people think about you, because they don't think about you."
That's so good.
That's very profound if you really dissect it. Don't worry about what people think about you, because they don't think about you. We spend so much time on social media and growing, successful businesses, however you define that, or, working on keeping up with the Joneses, finding the beautiful wife, all that stuff. We're so concerned with an image, when in reality, no one cares about you. They care about the problems of their own realm, their own world, the joys, the passions, the fun, and the fulfillment of their own little bubble. And so we spend so much time trying to please everybody else. When they go home at night, they're not thinking of us. The only thing they're thinking of potentially is, what is that, the real him or her? They can't possibly be like that all the time, right? So
we're not. None of us are.
Go ahead, Tim. Go ahead.
I was just saying, we're not. I mean, none of us are our social media presence 24/7.
Exactly. Right.
And I try to keep it as real as possible. I put some real shit on LinkedIn. But at the end of the day, you're still not seeing 100% of Tim DeJesus. Period. So that's what it is.
I'm trying to see the real Tim. And side note, you dabbled a little bit the other day. You said on your post either yesterday or the day before, you're like, of all the hosts of this show, I'm probably the least mentally strong. And so I appreciate that very much. I couldn't wait to dig in and ask you about that. But before we carry on to the next question, because Jeremy, you hit on this, and Kevin, you touched on it a little bit, talking about, in 2008, the crisis that you went through. Jeremy, you were very, very explicit in saying, I'm so glad it's over now. Now, mental health does not go away. So whether you're on cloud 9 or notch 0, it's going to change. I'm guessing, and please do not let me or allow me to be the person that brings heartache or worry into this group, but we have not faced on this platform right now, us 6 gentlemen have not faced the worst in our lives yet, guaranteed. And so I've been toying around with this idea, and it culminated from this invite, and I'd love to know you gentlemen's perspective on this. So you guys are familiar with the phenomenon of the rainy day fund, or carry on 6 months of your salary just in case something were to happen? You guys know the concept? Well, guess what? We're using that 6 months right now, aren't we? But you know what's interesting is, what about this concept of a resiliency piggy bank, a resiliency fund, or a mental fortitude fund? So constantly, all day long, like right now, Jeremy, life is good for you. Are you journaling? Are you capturing these amazing moments? Will you always be able to remember that amazing moment that you had last week where you met somebody phenomenal that changed your life? So much so that it's so embedded in your brain that when you struggle 2 years from today, you'll be able to look back and say, gosh, dang, that was an amazing time in my life. And that one moment, that one memorable person, that one memorable interaction that you had may be that straw that you need to get you through the tumultuous time that you're facing 2 years from today. So my question to you is, how do you guys feel about, we work out it, like if you want to work you want to lose weight, or you want to get some a 6-pack or an 8-pack, whatever, you go to the gym. But how often do people work their minds? How often
That's good.
to yourself to literally grow from challenging situations and hold on to the amazing things that happen, so when you do need them, they're right there in that memory bank and you could bask in their glory?
I want to talk about this one. And I understand what you're saying, and I think I want to make sure we clarify that, in doing so, we're not trying to live in the past, because that's a dangerous game to play, right? But I understand what you're saying, and somebody said something earlier. I think it was actually you, Paul, about kind of those dark times and where do we go? And for me, honestly, we look at building a successful brand for ourselves and just being the best version of ourselves. Because look, all of us probably have families and are trying to provide, right? But the reality is, look, success and money don't have to be commingled. To be honest, the most fun times I've ever had in my life is when I was dead ass broke. Dead ass broke.
Same here.
Fun times I ever had in my life, ever. So I think it's important. I think it's important to realize, like, we all have families. We all have to provide. But sometimes you have to take a look and realize, like Kevin said, like, okay, if it all falls down, you still got your stuff. You can pick back up and start over. But just think back, like, money, big house, keeping up with the Joneses. To me, it means shit. Because at the end of the day, look, I'm just about having good mental health. I've been down the depression road. I just want to have good mental health right now. I want to build something. I want to leave something for my daughter. But in the grand scheme of things, you got to live in the now and enjoy what you have, regardless of what the hell's going on around you.
My man. So Kevin, I don't want to monopolize the show. I could go on all day. I want to leave this thought from my perspective with this before we turn to Aldric and Jeremy, potentially, or Kevin, for advice.
No, don't worry about that. In fact,
Don't worry about that.
I think if I can just really do a tapestry between what Kevin is doing, what Kevin just mentioned, and what you just mentioned, it makes a lot of sense. And for me, what I got out of that, and in fact, I think this is already episode 10, but the previous episodes I didn't really mention about that. I believe that in life and for all of us as individuals, we need anchors. We need anchors in our life, right?
Yep.
And the most important thing is to understand that, as with the financial markets that has boom and bust, our friends and our connections that are close to us, there are good days where suddenly you have more friends than you can ever count, and you don't know why, right? And when you have bad days where are they? So as with boom and bust in terms.
Oh,
No, he froze.
And that is a perfect freeze moment too.
That's a good phrase right there.
oh, you're back.
Important
No,
is
it's
that, we need to bring back our attention to our own anchors, to say that no matter what happens.
He froze.
He's on to something. And I'm so glad that he brought it up. Eldred, so here's what I'm taking from you. We need these anchor moments, these things that ultimately we could point to lift us up when we need to, and to ground us when we need that as well. And I think that, Tim, I'm so glad that you called me out, because what I hope comes from this session, our time together, is not just a conversation of opinions, but rather really tactical things that folks could leverage to help them through challenging moments. And heck, remove challenging moments, how to turn good moments even into more greatness. So, Tim, when I referenced good times or this emotional or mental fortitude or resiliency piggyback, think I wasn't just saying to like relish in the past. I think that what we could do is if we identify those anchors, like Aldric said, and we identified what was working and what specifically happened along those, and what were the techniques and what were the things that culminated in that joy or created that joy, then maybe, just maybe, we could start to recreate it. So, for example, probably not news for you guys that when you're in quarantine, you're around your family a lot. And the beauty that is your kids and fun that is your wife and respect that you have, your patience it's a little shorter and shorter and shorter, right? And so what happens, right? You start to get annoyed about little things, like stupid things that you wouldn't typically, right? So Aldric, you mentioned this as an anchor, but going back to this resiliency piggy bank, if I look at my wife and I see how gorgeous she is, and I'm taken back to the day that I literally open up my phone where I still have the vows that I wrote in Notepad, and I open up those vows and I read them to myself. And then I look at my wife and I remember that day and tears streaming down my face and her face as well. Well, then when I look at her, I'm not as frustrated, depressed, or anxious anymore. Now I have something very specific to be thankful for. So it's not just about relishing in the past. It's more about using that as a roadmap. And so I'll leave you with this, Jeremy, when you were going through the struggle, right? In China, the 9 years, all of that stuff. What did you do? Tell me about your days. Like, you played video games, you slept. For the most part, like, what was the thing that gave you the most joy through those challenging times?
Well, that's a tough one. I just want to address some of the things you guys mentioned earlier. Keeping up with the Joneses. It's a bad thing when there is no social media. It's even worse with social media because everyone wants to show their best self. You know, I've got the biggest car, I got a whatever. You get it. And everyone is happy 24/7 in the world of social media. So one thing I stopped doing when I was in that bad space, I stopped looking at social media because it can't be that everyone is so happy, right? And it just makes me feel even worse. So I chose not to look at that, right? So that's one thing I wanted to point out. And I wanted to point out what you mentioned, Paul, about building that bank of resiliency, memory, and all that. You know, I thought about the word resilience when I was thinking about what to say in this chat. So I think it's a great idea. However, the problem is, at least for me, as you said about all these things, at least for me, I thought about this resiliency thing, and it is always negative. What do I mean by that? It is always about what didn't kill me, made me stronger. And if I hit a next bad patch, I will go into that negative space again and say, you know, the last time was worse. I can survive this. That is usually the perspective. I don't know, maybe most people, or at least for me, that's how my mind works. But it never goes the other way, right? It never goes the other way, as in, I should be positive. I got a lot to working for me. You know, I should appreciate and be grateful for this and that. So this isn't that bad. You know, it's always a negative thing. Or we compare ourselves with some other guy who is starving at the roadside, dying, and you know, I'm not that yet. You know, I should be okay and I should be happy. I think what you just mentioned in terms of tactical, keeping those good memories, locking them up to pull out when you hit a bad patch, I think that is something I myself should practice for, and I think that that's really, really useful and tactically. So I'm gonna try and build that more, right? And so back to your question, what did I do? Wow. Maybe I can just say this, right? The only thing that literally kept me alive was family. Believe it or not. Yeah. When you realize that, you know, there's really no, okay, this is what went through my head, huh? So I left China, successful career, 9 years. It was pretty bad because my wife was heavily pregnant, so she came back to Singapore first. Good thing I had a place in Singapore, right? Otherwise it'd be worse. I might be living off the streets. So I had to see
that term, heavily pregnant.
She was gonna deliver soon. So there was a window before she could fly back, right? So So she flew back to Singapore first, right? Third trimester and all that, final stages. So I was the last guy left behind in Shanghai to take care of everything. That means emptying out the whole house that I had, that I was living in for 9 years. Everything went out. To the last few days when I was waiting for my stuff to clear customs before I can fly back myself, it was literally four walls, my luggage, a mattress. I don't even had pillow. I didn't even have a blanket. So I was just like sleeping on a towel, right? And that felt really miserable, as if it's not bad enough, right? Going back to Singapore with a second child coming, no salary. My wife wasn't working. She's a full-time homemaker, and yeah, all these thoughts in the head, right? So that was very bad. All four walls, nothing to keep your mind occupied.
Yes.
That was really terrible. So when I came back to Singapore, it was like, I need to look for a job. But my son arrived like 5 days after I reached back Singapore. And mind you, I had a container of 80 over boxes coming my way, to stuff into a fully operational house of the same size. So I had to think of where to put the items with a crying baby and my wife going through, right, postnatal and all that. No, not postnatal blues, just having to fix the kid and all. And I had my daughter who I had to send to school, fetch back and forth. So a lot of things in the head. And I honestly, the only thing that got me through was, having family around you, having my kids to remind me what I'm here for, responsibility. And the thing I want to say about friends, right? It's always when you're at the darkest moments, and where you're at the bottom, those guys who are still with you, those friends who are still with you, they stick with you for the rest of your lives. And yeah, just a word of concern, right? Hey, how are you doing? I'm just checking in. Those are the guys that, really, hold on to them. Not the ones on Facebook, right? Who drive the big cars and have the trophy wife and the huge house. Not those guys. So if I could sum it up, the things that really kept me alive, really family, people who care, friends. But that being said, it's still up to you. It's still up to you. It's whenever I picture myself back those days, it's just scary. I just want to get out of that. I hope that answers your question. And Paul, it's great meeting you here, really, for the first time. And I really like what you're sharing in terms of tactical, helping people, helping yourself. I'll try to be much better at building up my bank of resilient memories, so that if I ever hit the point, like you said, the hardest and toughest at the lowest, which probably we have not met that yet, we're not there yet. I've more things to back me up. Well, thank you for that.
I appreciate
it. And real quick, I just wanted to say, hey, Paul, I definitely understood what you were saying before and wasn't calling you out. So come across that way. I was just clarifying for everybody. I just wanted to make sure.
Listen, I want to be called out because I think it's important to know that you said it best, Jeremy, earlier. We're not experts. All I'm doing is sharing a perspective. So I talk a lot about this concept of fun, and fun is an acronym to me. The F is your foundation, your personal foundation. So it's your experiences in life, the things that shaped you, how you got to where you are, your personality style, how you communicate, all of these things that we're talking about. The U in fun is understanding others' perspectives. And that's what we're doing right now. We're sharing perspective. No one's right or wrong. We just are. And believe it or not, it's very difficult to change anybody's belief system. And that is never my intent. My intent is to reveal the opportunity that people could potentially have to have a little more fun in life. And I think ultimately, Jeremy, we've talked a lot about the what, and I appreciate your kind words and thoughtful words. I think now, Kevin, is a great time to go on to the next question, which is what do we do to stay positive? Talk about the how, because Jeremy, you said, I'm going to try. And I appreciate you sharing that. We haven't really talked about how, and that's what everybody wants to know. So Kevin, as the lead moderator, what do you, my friend, do to stay positive?
Yeah, so I am overall, after my situation, I'm overall a pretty positive person. So my wife can tell you guys different. She's on the show right now, but I think I'm pretty positive. So, but
She's always on the show.
I know she's always on the show. So I think for me, I keep myself pretty busy. But I think for me, I understand in my life, my personal life, my perspective. I'm a Christian. I believe there's a higher power. I believe there's God, and I live my life, understanding there's a lot more than just me, and that helps me sane. It helps me not just depend on myself or what the world offers. There's more eternal perspective in my world. And then on top of that, I think what really helps too, I try to diversify, right? I still, like Paul was talking about tapping into your childhood. So a big part of my childhood was playing basketball. So for me, one of the hardest thing with this quarantine is I can't go play basketball at the gym, but that allows me to just get away or even going to the gym, right? And I share in some of my last episodes, I used to be a natural bodybuilder. So just lifting weights and just being able to be active. And because what I like about basketball is this. Basketball forces me to put this thing aside. And with being a digital marketer and in the business I am in, it's 24/7. I have, about 40 plus clients, and it's just the reality of my business. People are going to text me, they're going to contact me, and it's hard to not look at it because being a digital marketer, they know if they can't reach me on my phone, they can also DM me. They can also hit me up on LinkedIn. They can jump on my live show and go, there's Kevin, he's going live, So there's so many ways to reach out to Kevin if they don't want to talk to my staff members. So for me, when I play basketball, it's just a couple hours where I can just put my phone aside. And when you're playing basketball, you're not worrying about your phone because your mind is about guarding that guy and winning, playing basketball. So for me, it allows me to just get away and do something fun. And, and I'm not around my kids, and I love being around my kids. It's good as well, but there is an added stress every once in a while. And that's just the reality. So for me, that's how I have sanity, because I'm such a busy guy. And it just gives me something fun to do that reminds me of what I did when I was a child,
Good.
So, yeah.
Aldric, how about you?
The actions we take, right? For me, I do a lot of journaling. So I typically think about things in two ways. Naturally, there's the upside of things, right, and how we can grow, how we can grow our business, our knowledge, and things like that, and all the good stuff, right? And at the same time, I think the part that most of us avoid are the potential downside. So I would like to, once in a while, I'll get into this element where I will just isolate myself and I'll start writing, and I'll confront myself. I'll confront myself, the worst fears that I can ever encounter. Literally, like shut everyone off and confront myself. So, as an example, if you know that 80, 90, 95% of your attention is on your business, right? You spend a lot of time on that, your heart, your soul, your love to build it, then you need to realize that the flip side is also true, because when your business goes away, you are destroyed mentally. Out of the blue, you're like, what's happening to me, right? So I like to think about things that way, and that when we confront ourselves and when we ask the first level questions, typically we don't get the answer. So perspectives to me matters a big deal. I'll just ask, what do I like? I'll just ask, what do I like? What do I appreciate now? I like my desk to be cluttered, messy. I enjoy the fact that I get a lot of notifications on my phone because it shows that I'm connecting with people, prospect or clients are talking to me. I enjoy the fact that I'm doing a live show and things like that. I enjoy all these. But then the reflection will come. And that reflection will be, what if one of all these goes away? Will I be scared? Will I be scared? Right? Then the next thing, do I have the confidence to rebuild it? Do I have the confidence to rebuild it?
That's good.
And it applies to business, right? When our business models are outdated and we are wiped out, like I'm sure there's quite a bit of small businesses today that's facing the crunch. When we are wiped out because our business model cannot sustain the threat of a lockdown or pandemic and things like that, do we have the confidence to say, okay, fine, I'm F&B, I'm in the high-end customer experience, but these days I can't open that because if I open my shop or my store, it's going to be expensive. I cannot cover my rent. Fine. Can I immediately change into a delivery model? Okay. And when
Froze again.
He froze.
He's rolling.
Yeah, he's rolling. He's
your
got some good
job
stuff.
is about protecting
There we
you.
go.
Yeah. It's not about protecting your jobs. It's about protecting you. So we can survive together, right? So I think about it that way. I don't really think about how we can get out of the dark space, but I think that's because I built it in already. So in brief, it will be attack the upside, but at the same time, what is my downside? And I want to be very clear about that. So I see a mirror image, right? I like to connect with people. I like to communicate my ideas across. And then one of the worst things that could happen would be the exact flip side. What if one day I lost my ability of speech? What do I do? And then I will look at the authors.
He has killed it. I love this stuff.
Stephen Hawking.
Mm.
He lost.
Dang it.
The beauty of technology.
Further communicate himself. So
That's bad.
For me, is what's good, and therefore the flip side is my biggest fear, and therefore do I have the confidence to overcome it? That's for me.
That's good.
It's good.
Gracious. It's so good. You said the tagline, Kevin. Did you hear him?
What's good?
What's good?
What's good?
That's the brand right there. What's good? Hey, to whatever extent you're willing to share, Aldric, you seem like a very positive and forward-thinking guy who leverages heartache, tumultuous times, and things like that to grow, as everybody on this call has. But you've really articulated some strong thoughts. I love this. What if this all goes away? And do I have the confidence to rebuild it? That's amazing. To whatever extent you're willing to share, what was your darkest day? Like the time where you weren't certain that you could make it through. Have you ever had?
Many. My first job, when I was released, the year before, I was a high performer. Talking about contrast, right? So
Yes.
that's one. When I was studying, when I was in a so-called elites class of a particular module, right? I didn't do very well, and the year before that, I was the top of the cohort. That's life, right? So I think the thing is, whenever we get too high up there, and the moment we start appreciating that, oh wow, I got all these achievements, I must be fantastic and things like that. Watch out. Life doesn't go that way, because what goes up comes down. Apart from age, right? Apart from age, I mean, like age goes up.
It stays up.
If I guess the easiest way to build resonance in this conversation.
Aldric, what's happening to you today?
It's the internet, I think.
I put this.
Yeah,
Back to
we gotta tell him.
Hey, so Tim, what is sorry, you're cutting in and out.
No worries.
That was great stuff. So what I heard you say is you were on cloud 9 multiple times as a top performer, as an elite class, and ultimately you got knocked down, which is life, right? That's what happens. And so you implored these philosophies and this mindset that you shared with us earlier to get through those tumultuous times. So thank you. Hey, Tim, what do you do?
Mine is, I'm going to try to keep mine short and to the point. I mean, what I've learned is just to be nimble with my thoughts. And
that's
I mean
good.
by that, what I mean by that is just simply like, if you're hitting a point of resistance in your mind, then just get the hell away from whatever it is that you're doing. Because that happens sometimes when, you know, I'm working and I'm like forcing myself to do something. And I'm like, all right, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to turn on Netflix for an hour and just get the hell away from this. And then an hour later, everything's back. And I'm like, all right, cool, let's do this. But it's just being nimble with your thoughts. And sometimes if you're trying to press an issue, just get the hell away from it. Do something else and do something that you're going to enjoy and appreciate. And, you know, that little bit of mental health building moment goes a long way towards motivating you back into whatever it is that you need to do. So, you know, whenever I'm hitting a brick wall, I just stop and I'm like, forget it. You know what? Let me go do something else. Let me go break out my DJ equipment, or let me write in my,
yes.
You know what I mean? Let me do something else other than what I'm doing right now, because what I'm doing right now is just not working. So that's what I do when I'm having that mental, that breakdown moment.
Tim, my goodness, you just defined the fundamentals of a fun and optimistic lifestyle, what I call fundamentalism. So whatever you do for fun is a fundamental. That's fundamentalism. So we beat our head against the wall about all this stuff that's not working. And sometimes all we have to do is take a step back, refresh, rethink, refocus, be present, be deliberate, and then come back to it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't help but listen to what you were saying, Tim, and think back about Jeremy. You were saying the house was empty, 4 walls, nothing but you and your thoughts. What Tim just said is, what I heard you say is, how do I get out of this moment? How do I challenge this space? I got to get out of these 4 walls. Whether it even means that I'm going to go and sit on a freaking park bench for 5 minutes to get out of here, I'm going to get out of this cell, because all it is a mental prison. But when we're challenged with these negative thoughts, it's not that easy. And please note, I know it's not that easy. Our brain works so much to fill the narrative that we want to see. If you believe in God, Kevin, which I do, then there is nothing that anybody will ever say, no factual relevance, no amount of opinion that could ever sway your thought process or belief system. If you believe in Donald Trump and the Republican Party, there is no factual relevance, no scientific method, nothing that could sway your belief system. Vice versa. If you're a strong liberal, it doesn't matter if we're talking politics, we're talking faith, we're talking business. Guys, we are the human beings that feed our own narrative. And when we're struggling, we see all the crap that's not working. And so before I turn it over to you, Jeremy, one thing that I really admire about what you all have said is you've really identified some strong core fundamentals of what I call fundamentalism to help pull you out of these ruts. For me, probably not news to you, but I feed off of the energy of others. This is like literally the best thing that's happened to me all week, just being on here talking to you guys and hearing your perspectives. Hopefully you guys see me taking all of these notes and just with excitement with everything that you guys are saying. So I want to talk more about how to get to that place of fundamentalism or fundamentals. But before I do that, Jeremy, what do you do, man? What gets you in the right frame of mind?
Oh, well, hobbies help, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, the thing about video gaming, I shared it the last chat about, you know, hobbies. Yes, you're right. It's freaking stressful, but that's how I unwind. It's a bit ironic. Yeah, because my way of thinking is that the world is so unfair. The world always changes, but video games is where there's no change because it's all written binary, right? Ones and zeros, right? The rules are fixed. And that's where I know that if I put in the hard work, I practice enough, I don't get killed that much. I get better at it. So that's my anchor, right? Aldric says anchor. If I need a release of emotions, it always helps to go into a karaoke room and sing your lungs out. That helps. I know what you do I think that's your garage, right, Paul? Really appreciate that. I can identify with that. I probably don't do that much at home because of my kids and all. They probably think I'm crazy. So get to the right place and unwind. But if there's anything if I'm in the right frame of mind, I hit a bad patch and I need to get on and get out of it, right? I think the way to think about it really is that life is hard, right? If you think about it, life is the process to death. That's what's waiting for us at the end of the day. So if I need to put things into perspective, really just think of myself as a tourist on this planet for some people have it longer, more decades than others. Some people don't have much. And at the end of the day, it's you on your deathbed having the thoughts to yourself and taking checklists of what you've done in your life. And before you shut your eyes, did I live a good life? I'm happy to go. Or I had XYZ regrets I have not resolved. That's a bad space to be because you don't have chance to resolve that anymore. So if you look at your life at the end point, if you have the luxury to be on your deathbed, dying breath, and you take stock of your life and you think that that's okay, I had a good run, time to go. You shut your eyes and you're happy about that. I think you'll be okay. Everyone's gonna be okay. I think that's how I try and pull myself a bit. How you want to measure your life at the end of the day, right? So that's what tactically I try to do, or mind trick myself in a way.
Mind trick. I love it. That's fundamentalism. So Kevin, I just feel like I'm absolutely monopolizing this show. How are we doing?
No.
No, we're doing great. So
it's fine. It's fine. We are very positive. If you are doing the heavy lifting for us.
Very good. Yes.
It's just this is
Chill.
this is fascinating to me, and the reason why it's so fascinating when you think about the U, and I never talked about the N in fun. It's next steps. So this is how we build an implementation strategy. How do we grow? How do we gravitate more towards the things that give us strength? How do we live a life full of fun, joy, and fulfillment? Because without the N in fun, guys, you know what it is, right? Just F you. So Jeremy.
Yeah.
What you just said, this is what a lot of people do. If I'm sipping pina coladas on the beach and I'm 75 years old, reflecting back on my life and weighing out everything that happened and didn't happen, would I be satisfied? Why is that the question that we ask? Why do we always wait until the end?
Wrong scenario to paint.
What, Aldric, say it again.
I think that's the wrong question to ask. I think that's the wrong scenario to paint. But anyway, I'm just getting ahead of myself. Please finish it.
No, so it may be wrong to you, but it's right for Jeremy, and it's right for a lot of people, because again, our belief system is all that we know and experience. So Jeremy, to your credit, that's the best question that you could ask yourself to get through the moment. I would like to challenge that mindset and say, our daughter, she's 7 years old, little Adeline Grace. Our son is 4 years old. Every night we're laying in bed, every single night. We read 2 books. We talk a little bit. We work on our breathing. And so specifically, we downloaded the Calm app. We paid like $59 annually a year. And it actually walks you through a guided meditation that's 10 minutes long that forces you to breathe intentionally and deliberately. And my kids do this. Again, 4 and 7. If you think you can't do it, try getting a 4-year-old to sit for 10 minutes. And then right before we have quiet time and we go to bed, we ask the same question every single day. And I would like to ask that question to you guys right now. What is the best thing that's happened to you today? What is
that day?
What is the best thing, Jeremy, that's happened to you today? What is it?
Oh man, this life chat, man. Really, it's the start of the day. And And I mean, quite frankly, right? It's not about me, but it happens to be my birthday today. I don't have to work.
Happy
Hey,
birthday!
happy birthday.
Thank you guys. And I was thinking, man, do I really want to do this? Talk about mental health, such a dark place to revisit on the first thing in the morning of my birthday. And I didn't sleep well last night. So, but speaking to you guys, this is probably, it might be a bit too early, right? It's the best thing that's happened to me today for now. Hopefully more to come later, right?
Perfect.
And yeah, I think I've learned a lot from you, Paul. Really, appreciating the moment now and all that. So yeah, really, this is quite a good thing, and it's gonna stick with me for a long time. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
What's the best things happened to you, sir? Tim.
I got to spend some quality time with my little one, and since the divorce, it's not as often, and it hurts.
Yeah.
So every moment I spend with her is the best time in my day.
I love it. Now, guys, watch this. What did he just say was the best thing that happened to him? Spending quality time with a daughter, right? What was the most
Yeah.
What was the most memorable moment that you shared with your daughter today?
She actually fell asleep in my car as I was taking her back to her mother's place, and I got to actually hold her like she was a baby again and bring her up to the door. That's something that's gonna stick with me for, I don't know why it's gonna stick with me.
Well, guys, did you see what just happened? What did you see on his face?
Wow.
That smile. Not only is he smiling, dude got me in tears, and I think he's welling up a little bit as well. See, we take these things for granted. We say, what's the best thing that happened to you today? Well, this live call, or I got to spend some quality time with my daughter. No, what specifically about it? Dig deep. You'll dig deep in all the shit that's not working. Oh no, I didn't make I got knocked down a peg or two. I didn't get the promotion. Why? Well, it's because Steve, he's getting recognized for being better than we. He didn't put in the work that I did. How about you work that hard in identifying what is good in your life? Because I guarantee you it's there. So a couple of things before we carry on. Aldric, I want to hear about the best thing that's happened to you, my friend.
Being alive.
What specifically about it?
The fact that I can do something for myself and I'm alive. And I can share with you the story behind that. In the country that I'm in, we serve national service. So it's compulsory army days for 2 years.
Yes.
During the second year, I was dispatched to a relief mission in Aceh, Indonesia. If you remember those years, there were the tsunamis.
Yes.
So many people perished during the tsunami. I was right in front, witnessing, I would say, mountains of bodies. I won't go into the details. So my job there with my team is to provide and to give honorable services to people who have perished and to give them a decent burial or cremation. It was moments like that, usually moments like that etch into my mind and say that I'm short of promoting any form of religion, but we have to be grateful that we can wake up, be alive, and fight for what we want. Simply because all the achievements that we have, all the friends that we have, everything that we have, it can't exist if we don't exist, right? For everyone that went away because of a pandemic or a natural calamity or whatsoever, I think the thing is, we should be so honored that we have the ability to go on. That's one thing, and I also think that everyone that's on the billionaire index, they are not there by luck. Every one of them have been bankrupt before. So if you're bankrupt and you are in millions in debt, you have to realize that a beggar in the street has more net worth than they do. and they recovered. The net worth of someone begging in the streets could be zero. But when you are millions in debt, you're worse off, right? But they have the confidence to get back and to become better. So if there are people like that around, I want to surround myself with them. I think that's good, right? Whether they are obnoxious, whether they are weird or quirky, it doesn't bother me, right? And it's just an accumulation of my own life experiences. Like, if you've been there, you've seen it, you have experienced it, then when these moments actually come together, you form your own mental tapestry. And you build your own judgments. That's what I think, and that's how I see things. So to everyone out there in our audience and things like that who are upset because someone just ghosted you on social media, or someone just shitted on your contents and things like that, hey guys, get a perspective, right? Or maybe just book an appointment with me or us, and then we see what we can do to help you. That's what I think.
Oh my goodness.
That's what I
This is
think.
good stuff. Hey Kevin, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. I don't know.
No, you're good.
Like, so
So
what do you do, man? What's been good specifically that's happened to you today?
So for me is I have a lot of gratitude, like especially during this time. So I have an agency that I run, and I typically go 40 minutes. I was just talking to my wife this morning, having coffee, and in spite of the pandemic, my days are usually pretty busy, right? I drive 40-minute downtown. I live in Grain Valley here in Kansas City, so you understand. And I get through traffic to go to work. And a lot of times I don't come home till probably 7 p.m., 8 p.m. And it's been a very restful time. It's a restful season for my family and I am just being able to be home, even though I'm working, but I'm present. And so today, I got the opportunity to just really, I took a moment and just had coffee with the wife this morning. And, and I was just, it was a special time because we just kind of talked about the goodness of the situation, right? The beauty around it, because I got to, I miss out on the opportunity sometime of being dad, because I'm always go, go, go. And it also helped me realize too, hey, people can wait, it's okay to say no. It's okay to make people wait. And as an entrepreneur, I think it's so important. And today, I just got to, play with my boys a little during work hours. I just decided, hey, let's take a break. Let's not answer these phone calls. These people can wait on my email because I can't go back on that time. So just little things, whereas maybe just 10 minutes of running around with my boys and doing wrestling, and those are the things that really, it's better than signing a $5,000 contract today, because to me, that's the moment that I had with my boys that I will remember. And I can just tell just by being present home recently, the mindset, like my younger one, he's a mama's boy. So he's really attached to Jennifer. He wants to sleep with her. He wants to. And recently, like today, like he just came into the room and I was actually looking at my phone, checking emails, and he just lay right next to me and he goes, I love you, Dada. And he just wants to be with me, and I never saw that when I was going to work all the time. Yeah. But now he's like, he wants dad. He's like, oh, Daddy, hey, are you done? Are you almost done with work? But I can tell just by me being present more home recently, it's changing our relationship, even though I've always loved him. I always spend the weekend with him, but something has clicked, and he's like, hey, I want dad too, because dad's available.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's awesome. So, yeah.
It's fantastic. Well, the takeaways that I hope that I got out of this specifically, and this is me being selfish, so go figure. You guys, first of all, you guys are articulate, you're thoughtful, you guys believe in self-reflection so much so that you take the time to identify what's good in your life and maybe what wasn't so good and how could you grow from that. That is one of the biggest takeaways for me, is no matter what's good or what's not good, take the time in thought. Be deliberate, be present. Think about what you have. Think about what you don't have. That's okay. Think specifically about what you would like and do I have the confidence to build it? See that? I wrote
Thank
it
you.
down. That was from you, Aldric. I paraphrased because I said build it, but you said rebuild it. But nevertheless, my point is, whatever it is that gives you strength, do more of that, like Tim said, than the stuff that doesn't. So whether that is being childlike, like you said, Kevin, playing basketball, going to the gym, I like to get it in, throwing rocks, walking outside barefoot. You know, another thing, Jeremy, we talked about getting out of the four walls. Well, it's one thing to go sit on a park bench. It's another thing to actually write down or challenge yourself on a mini scavenger hunt. So spot 3 birds, wave to 5 strangers, say great day to 2 people, you know, skip for 1 block. You know, when you challenge yourself to do very specific and tactical things, people they listen to this stuff. And Aldrich, you said it best. It's quirky. It's crazy. It's stupid. I don't care. Is it going to get you out of this negative headspace? Because right now, convincing yourself that you can't get out of that clearly isn't working. So let's try something new.
It's good.
That's good. That's great. Tactical, you know. And I think that's so key, you know, what Paul said too, is just making those actions and actually doing it to just get out of the situation you're in. But at the same time, I know there's an audience out there too. When it comes to mental health, you know, I think it leads to our next topic, right? Seeking help, you know, and I think just like Paul said earlier, out of all of us in this group and even our audience, we all go through struggles, and it's okay to accept the reality that there is depression, there is anxiety, and some people can't control it. It's a chemical in their brains, you know, that causes these things. And like overall for me, you know, I went through, my stuff is situational. So I got into a funk because it was a situation. It's not a mental health issue, right? But I also understand, hey, there are people out there, that's just the reality of the world, that they can't control these things. And there comes a time, it's okay to go talk to someone. It's okay to seek help. It's okay to be transparent. And that's why it's so important, like Aldric said, you have to have those anchors, right? You have to have friendships that you can trust, you know, and even religion or whatever, you know, a pastor, a preacher, you know, a priest, you know, I don't care, you know, your wife, you know, someone, you know, that you have to talk to. And I think the worst thing you can do is to hide, you know, and try to be something that you're not and not talk about it, because we all need accountability. And even among the bottoms up perspective, we've been talking about just nurturing our community and holding each other accountable to different things, even in our LinkedIn journey or even in life in general, right? Accountability plays such a big part. And I want to hear from you guys, you know, when do you feel, you know, or from experience, your own experience, when did you feel like, hey, I needed to talk to someone?
I'll say this. I mean, I'm not shy about reaching out and talking to people. You know, listen, LinkedIn is therapeutic for me, to be honest. You know, if something's on my mind, I'll just freaking put it out there. And I'm not really as concerned about what's somebody gonna think. Oh, is somebody gonna judge this harshly? I mean, I really don't give a shit. It's more so, look, this is making me feel good to say it out loud. And the best thing about LinkedIn that I really appreciate is when you say that thing that, like I said, maybe you might think somebody might judge you harshly for. The community outreach is amazing. People really support, and they'll give you perspective, and somebody will challenge you, and that's a beautiful thing. So, you know, I'm not shy about reaching out from a personal perspective. And like I said, if I see something I don't like, I just say it. I'm not concerned about what the backlash is going to be, because at the end of the day, it's helpful to, number one, get your thoughts out of your own damn head. And then number two, it's also helpful to get perspective from the community, because I really do appreciate, I got, you three, Kevin, Aldric, and Jeremy before I met Paul, and hopefully I got a new friend here.
Right.
But I mean, with you three, you guys, obviously this is our little perspective group, and I get great perspective from you guys, and some of our group chats are some of the best times in my day. So
That's
like
awesome.
I said, so I like I said, I use LinkedIn kind of from a therapeutic perspective. I'm not concerned about the critics and the backlash and, oh, what's somebody gonna say? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. In the grand scheme of things, if you know who you are, if somebody's always gonna have a negative opinion about something. It just is what it is.
That's good.
Awesome. Awesome. Can I
Jeremy,
just go
want to
and say,
Go
yeah, can I
ahead,
just go and
Elder.
say that I'll just go and say that I'm not going to talk about seeking help. When do you know? But I'm going to address something really. It's okay, when you know something is wrong, hopefully you realize you need to seek help and you need to trigger that process. But more importantly is maybe more for the Asian aspect, when it's about face and stuff, the
That's good.
ability to be willing to accept help. I think that's very, very important. I had issues with that. Really, I had issues with that because it's like I was jobless more than a year plus. I couldn't get a job on my own means, right? And when people started to say, "Hey, I can refer you to this, I can refer you to that," I had problems with that because I always think that I can get my job out of my own capability, sending out my resume and be of good standing. In fact, people who say that, "Hey, I'm going to refer you to this job," I consciously tell them that, "Hey, don't stake your personal reputation on me." That was how bad it was. It's pushing away help and say that, don't waste your good standing in the company and go out on me, because I might mess this up and then you look bad on you. So I had that problem. So I think it's very important. I just want to share that, it's very important when you have an issue, you seek help, be willing to accept that help. Be willing to, put everything down, put your ego down and accept that help, be grateful, be appreciative of, because these people are really people who love you, they want you to see you be better. Accept that help. So that's the little piece I wanted to address here, which I think is also very important.
And I want to say something right there. I think since we are on a live podcast where we also have a lot of Asians on here, along with people in the West, I think it's so true. Just me growing up in an Asian community, I think that's something that is a little harder, I think, for Asians to express themselves, because a lot of times we grew up in a culture, we just kind of keep things to ourselves because we want to save face, but not only save face for ourselves, even it's like almost like a disgrace to our parents if we, in our mindset, if we fail, right? And that's such a reality. And even me, I think going through 2008 when my business was struggling, it got to the point where like I was trying to do everything on my own. And the reality is I needed help. I needed to reach out and had direction to go. And I think sometimes we just have to not care so much about saving face. But it's hard to do. It's easier said than done. And that's kind of the reality, right? We can talk about it all day, but taking action and doing it is a whole other thing, because I think the Asian culture is in a way judgmental too, from your parents, your bosses, your superiors, different things like that. So, yep.
Aldric.
How about you, Aldric?
I think for me, what really matters is I recognize that I will always need to seek help, right? But I think that's just the very first baby step. The next thing that I'm always concerned about is who do I reach out to? Because
It's a good one. It's a good one.
You want that advice to hold weight, don't we? We want that, right? If I'm in a box and I know that I need to seek help and it has to do with building my business, I want to speak to my business mentors or some of my family members who built their businesses from scratch, right? Because when there is resonance, you realize that the advice that's coming from them, you will accept it unconditionally. And you want that, right? You don't want to have someone giving you advice, and in between that conversation, if you can picture that, you have all sorts of artificial barriers that filters out the message. So one way to get away with that is I discern who I get my advice from. I don't just ask. If I were to ask my parents about growing my business, I know that it's a wrong conversation. I do talk to them. They will tell me that I'm working too hard, or you should just get a job, or you should just do a 9 to 6 or 8 to 5, whatsoever, right? So then there is no advice, because that advice would be irrelevant to the help that you're seeking. So to me, knowing who is very important. And the other way of seeing things is that I surround myself with people who are like-minded. So advice is not really advice. Advice becomes a conversation. Like the four of us, right? So there's Kevin, Timothy, and Jeremy. When we talk about digital marketing, when we talk about nurturing a community, it's not an advice. We are doing it. We are having a conversation. So let's just have a conversation. And when you are at that stage, you don't have any artificial barriers, because I trust all of us in this context that we know what we are doing. So to me, the part that requires the most effort is knowing who I should ask the question to, because then I prevent myself from the unnecessary heartache of, do I trust this guy? Should I filter off some of the message? And is he trying to plant some messages in me? I don't want to go through that, right? So I spend my time upfront. I think that works for me in a very practical way.
I'm just gonna say something around that. I agree with you, Aldric. The only thing I will say is I'm very open-minded when it comes to somebody who also offers a suggestion, because sometimes some of the best suggestions I've got have come out of nowhere. So I always at least listen to somebody, and if I think they're full of shit, I'll be like, all right, that's stupid. I'm not gonna do that. But at the same time, if somebody does have a genuinely good suggestion, regardless of where it comes from, it'll resonate. I'll be like, that's actually pretty good, and I might apply it. So I'm with you. I try to surround myself with like-minded people. I keep a very, very, very small circle. Social media is one thing, but the people who are actually in the circle is very, very small. But at the same time, I'm always open to, okay, that's a good suggestion. Let me apply that, because that actually could work.
And the tools that we have today facilitates what you just mentioned. Now, imagine this: for every effective communication, it's to and fro, correct? Mm-hmm. But with all the social media platforms that has messages, you realize that they have effectively decoupled the to and fro. So it's no longer real time. People can text you. You don't have to respond. You can see what they say. You can see if it's a genuine feedback or not. And it gives tremendous advantage to communication today, because, like you mentioned, if someone says something that is really like, oh wow, this is amazing, you can choose to respond. If someone says something that is detrimental, or like in your words, BS and things like that, fine, I'll just leave it as this, right? And you don't have to get too personal about that. Mm-hmm. I think that's one way to look at things. So I'm with you on that, and we just have to use technology and social media to our advantage, rather than allowing it to drive our lives. That's my point.
Amen.
That's good.
All right.
About you, Paul?
Jeremy, you ready for me to bring this thing back down? Are you ready?
Let's bring it on. Bring it on. Come on.
All right. So first of all, I want to do a little discovery real quick, because just solely from a place of ignorance, I understand how proud the Asian community is and how private. Tell me specifically what in the Asian culture families are super proud of. So Jeremy, revisiting the the legacy that you left, and you did all the things and you're happy about it. In the Asian culture, what are the things that people would recognize us for?
You mean what? Like big house?
Okay, give it to
You
me.
know,
Big house.
uh,
What else?
high position. You have you command a lot of people under you.
Hmm.
Yeah, you cover a big scope, like Asia Pacific, or global director, that kind of thing. And in the younger days, are you top of your class? Do you get any awards? Things to show for, right? It's always something that's material. I feel, right. Comparison is one very big thing in Asian culture, right? When you are young, comparing scores. Your cousin did top in class. What about you? So and so works in a big bank, right?
That's
Probably
that's
huge
a tough
paycheck,
thing to
right?
live up to, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 cars, big house. What you're doing. My parents are not like that though, but I guess for Asian, I'm feeling that, my kids and all,
For sure.
so and so kid just went to Europe, or where do we go? Malaysia, some beach nearby, all this comparison, you just cannot escape it. And yeah, I think that's also a pitfall for unhappiness. I feel. Did I answer your question?
For sure. And I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah.
So, you know, we all aspire to leave a legacy. You hear that all the time. I want to leave a lasting legacy, an impression. My grandfather was the greatest dude I ever met. He's one of my idols. Paul Joseph Strawler. I was named after him, Paul Joseph. He battled mental health significantly. He would lay in his bed for 48, 72 hours at a time and not get up. He fought in World War II. He has all
Wow.
these. I mean, this guy was absolutely amazing. Raised all these kids on a single income with Reynolds Wrap. As awesome as my grandfather is, and as awesome as all of us grandchildren remember him, I guarantee you that 2 generations from me will never know my grandpa. We'll never know what he did. We'll never know what he stood for. Never know what he earned. We'll never know what house he had. So remove the Asian culture. This is something that we all struggle with.
Mhm.
Everybody believes that we have to create this lasting legacy when the truth of the matter is, unless you're Socrates or Sing San of the third patriarch dynasty of China, or Thomas Edison, the truth of the matter is, people aren't going to remember us 3 generations from when we pass. So what I didn't hear you say, Jeremy, is, was he happy? Was that guy happy? And at the end of the day, that's all you have. When you're in the ground, you're dead and gone. Who gives a crap what people think about you? Now, I know, Kevin, you said this, it's easier said than done. But when we really get to the root of everything that we experience in life and think that we are the sole earner of everything around us, I'm not talking money, I'm talking experience, joy, fun, fulfillment, creation, whatever it is. You are the sole proprietor of this business entity right here and everything that you experience in life. It's not your wife, it's not your kids, it's not your boss, it's you. And so you could easily say, we could easily say, well, my parents are going to look down on me. You know what I've never heard anybody say about somebody post-mortem? I've never heard anybody die too early or because of suicide and hear somebody say at their funeral favorably, he sure was a proud fellow. You know what? His pride was so awesome. Pride and ego is the root of all evil. You know who I want to kick it with? The people that are vulnerable, the people that'll get on here and reveal their warts. Tim, you said to me, LinkedIn has been interesting for you because you found that you don't care. You'll just put it out there. I've been told all the time, LinkedIn is not a social network. It's a professional network. Dude,
Hey, just so you know, I've been told it's not Facebook. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, exactly. You know how much run I've got lately by those stupid videos with me in a Charlie Hustle t-shirt in my workout room? Like, I have gotten more exposure from being candid, lighthearted, and real than I know of anybody posting the mortgage rates or the big car that they just got. You know what I'm saying? So a couple of things that I want to hit on quickly. Ego is the root of all evil. You could carry that pride with you to the grave. Nobody's going to remember it. I would challenge everybody to remember and realize that unless you build something like Jeff Bezos, and I'm not saying that's not possible, but what I'm saying is, what is your legacy really worth to you? Is it going to cost you your happiness? Because ultimately, you're not around to enjoy your legacy. So just be better suited just to have fun and rock it while you got it. And then lastly, to get dark, I talked about my grandfather. My father was an addict. My father died in a recliner after being addicted to painkillers for 10 plus years and being an addict his whole life. He slept in a recliner because his back was so terrible that he couldn't lay flat on a bed. And so he was high all the time. And part of it was the pain and part of it was addiction. And he would sleep for 48 hours at a time and he would be up for 72 hours at a time. And something that he talked about regularly was suicide. He talked about it all the time. I got another family member that is really, really close to me. He's got a bullet that he keeps with his name literally engraved on it. He's saving a bullet for himself with his name on it. You know how stupid that is?
Shit.
It's readily accessible for him whenever it is. So here's what I'll say about suicide. I can't speak for you, Dylan. I've thought about suicide no less than 20 times in my life. Now, am I saying that I thought to myself, I want to go get a gun and I want to kill myself? No. But what I was saying is, gosh, life sucks right now. Maybe it would be a little bit easier to not have to deal with it. Maybe it would be easier not to have to go find another job, Aldric, or not have to worry about the housing crisis, Kevin, or not have to worry about a pregnant, what was a significantly pregnant, heavily pregnant wife.
Heavily pregnant.
Really pregnant.
Or not have to worry about divorce, Tim. Like, we look at these things, and I went through a very dark period in my time with the quarter life crisis. My mom bought me a book on it. And my mom used to say, Paul, you're the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. We all struggle. We all struggle. And so at the end of the day, I think, when do you need help? When do you seek help? When you can't talk about it anymore. Like, when you can't talk about it anymore, that's when you need the most help. Because you don't worry about the folks that are constantly talking about suicide. Those are folks typically that just want you to talk with them. And one of my favorite quotes, you guys have probably heard it, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. It's one thing to ask for help. We got a lot of people in our life that ask for help nonstop. You guys got a lot of clients in the digital space that ask for a lot of help. But did they take your advice and are they willing to move forward? Or do they push on you the whole time? The student isn't ready. My point is, it's one thing to seek help. It's another thing to specifically do something about it and heed those actions, like you said, Tim, about maybe, just maybe, there's some merit to what this individual is saying and I should try something new.
That's so good.
Yeah, I love it.
I think I'll just add on one point to this conversation topic that you have with Jeremy. I mean, like leaving a legacy and things like that. Whether it's an Asian culture thing or a global citizen culture thing, I think let's just strip that aside, right?
Yep.
We, in itself, this notion, it withstands the test of time. It does. But that doesn't mean that it can't evolve.
Great point.
That's a good point.
My point is this. When we say that we are leaving a legacy, we usually think about it in terms of assets, providing for our company, for our family, future generations, or maybe we have a trust, or we have a business and things like that, right? But hey, that journey is a long one. So first, let's recognize that journey is a long one. It's a viable one, right? But if you are truly intrinsic about leaving a legacy, you can do something that we are doing now at Bottoms Up. You don't have to leave assets. You can leave a voice.
Yes.
What he said.
Leave a voice. If you just look at it, do you think society is going backwards? Are we going to surrender our smartphones tomorrow and internet is going to go away? I doubt it. It's going to continue to evolve, right? So what lives on? Content, what we say, right? What we believe, what we want others to believe in us, right? So the nature of a legacy is, I'm not around, but the things that I built, they are around for my family. Now, great. Can you do a piece of content, post it, or a video, shoot it, you post it, and then you go away, do your day job, and let your contents nurture the community that you are building. You are away, right? You don't have to wait till the day that you expire. You can do it now. Mm-hmm. Why aren't you doing it now if you're thinking about legacy and things like that? So my point is this. Yes, we love this idea. It withstands the test of time, but it can evolve. It can. Actors, movie stars, they will die, but they will live on in their movies. We should think about that in our contents. We will go away, but Bottoms Up will not go away. Mm-hmm. We live. So that is a legacy, right? Leaving a voice in history.
And I think. Go ahead.
I just want to say something real quick about this. Look, a legacy sometimes doesn't have to do anything with money or what material possessions you left behind at all.
Because they'll be destroyed.
Right. Not only that, but you know what? For me, and I've thought about this at length, right? I want to provide for my daughter. I don't want the provision to be the legacy. I want the legacy to be that, hey, my dad did what the hell he wanted to do to get to where he got to. And that's what I can do with my life. That's the legacy I want to leave behind. It's not, okay, he left me a house and a car and this and that. He left me $500,000, whatever. You know what I mean? That's wonderful. And that's something I want to do anyway. But the legacy should be, look, I want you to believe in yourself, to do things that you can accomplish and do it your way and not live by someone else's creed or code. Do it your way. That's the legacy I want to leave behind. That's the way I'm doing it. And that's what I want for her to have as the legacy. So I just want to say that.
And I think that's the beauty. I think that's the beauty of it too. I think Aldric, you brought up a great perspective here. I think this is something I say a lot. People are like, "Hey, why are you so active on LinkedIn and social media and everything?" Right? The way I look at it, and I talk about this with my family. If you're authentic and genuine on these platforms, it's a tool, right? There's things on Facebook that I set to private. No one sees it. Except my family members. But if you know how to utilize these social platforms, it's almost like a diary. It's a time capsule, like Aldric said, that you can look back. That's why on Facebook, you can set up legacy accounts where when you pass away, someone else can log in, right? And I think that's so beautiful because my kids now, if they ever want to go into business, they can look back on dad's LinkedIn and go, that's what was his thought process. That's how he did things. But the important thing is you have to be authentic. If you're chasing after vanity metrics and you're doing all this BS, is that what you want to leave behind for your kids? And I actually tell my clients this. I when I'm talking to them, we are talking about delivering value in your content. Would you leave this piece of content for your kids or your future generation? And if it's a no, then it's probably not valuable content, So think about it this way. So if you're just using bots or engagement pods, there's no problems with that. Great. But is that something you want to leave behind because dad or mom was popular because of some pods? Or do you want your own voice out there and you're actually building it? And so that's something to think about when you're putting out content. Can they read your content and learn more about you? And that's another way to measure. So stop looking at just KPIs from analytics, from graphs and charts. Think about it. What you put on these platforms, is this something you really genuinely believe in? It'll change the way you do content, because you'll change the way you think, and it'll really cut out all the noise, because no longer is it about following someone else's trend, but being authentic, being you. And I think that's important. So
can I just quickly round up some of the points you guys all said? Paul, like what you said, I thought about that. What are we? I always had this question in mind, about life. What's life all about? And I thought about it, and I had that exact same thing you mentioned, right? I only exist for probably 2 generations now as a memory. That's my life. That's what's going to define me. My grandkids, if I live that long, will remember me as grandpa, and it ends there. That's it. No more traces of me, or at least that was in the past. I will exist as a memory. 2 generations. That's all. But that was the past. Right now, thanks to the internet, we will be immortal. We will be immortal. And exactly what Aldric said. I mentioned this before, why I'm doing LinkedIn. I think that was the first episode, right? I mentioned this before. At some point, I'm doing LinkedIn because, and I do videos because at some point when I'm gone, long gone, and my kids are old enough, they can find some bits and traces of me. Hey, there's that doing a retail video. There's that on this chat. This is my legacy. I'm sorry, I don't have big cars, houses, property, money to leave them behind. But at least this piece of me, my thoughts, what I went through, what I'm sharing, they can find it somewhere. Oh, of course, unless LinkedIn goes bust or something. I don't think that will happen soon. But it will exist somewhere. This piece of me is going to exist somewhere. And this is my legacy. What I think. This is what I leave behind for my kids. And this is one big value while I'm doing this, And I'm glad we touched upon this on today, the 10th episode. Really, kids, if you are watching this someday, this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this and all this video. That some piece of me is still behind here. Not before I die and do a video. If you're seeing me, I'm dead. Nothing like that. It's day to day, every day. They can witness and hear me speak for myself, my struggles, what I shared today, and everything else. This is really for them, more for them than for me to get the next big job. Those things come and go, right? So yeah, thank you for this, opportunity, to be this chat. Really, I appreciate every one of you guys.
I think I'm just gonna do one closing based on what you just mentioned, which is the life and the meaning. And I think that's important, but it's just my perspective, right? It's a one man's perspective. Life is an empty book. What we write in it is the meaning. What we write in this is the meaning. What do I mean by that? If you have musical talents, your meaning is in musical notes. That book becomes a score, right? If you are a creative person, what you write in that book could become a creative copywriting, right? If you are a science person, what goes into that book? They're going to be equations that explores the truth of life, the grand unification force and things like that, right? So I think we spend too much time trying to figure out what is the meaning of life. But in this process, we waste too much time as well. I think the best way to think about the meaning of life is that we write our own meaning into our life.
Yep.
That's what it is.
Absolutely.
That's what it is. I mean, that's my closing comment, but we probably can do one episode on this. but that's genuinely what I think, right? Our life is the blank canvas that we are born with. If you want to paint on it, you can be a painter. You want to write a score, you're a musician. If you want to write equations, you can be a physician. Anything. A physicist, sorry, anything. It is up to us. It is always up to us. And don't ever try to allow other people to put their meaning into your life.
Yes.
You'll be very miserable.
Yep. I've been
That's
there.
what I think. My closing comments.
I'll
Awesome.
say one. I just want to say one thing on to dovetail off that, and then I'm gonna sign off as well. I don't know that I've ever actually thought about the meaning of life. I try to live in the now. I don't know that I've ever honestly backed up and like, what is my purpose? I try to really live in the right now and be present in what I have versus the purpose. Because like you said, it's a dangerous game to play. What is my purpose? Let me think about this for so long. Well, that's just valuable time wasted. So that's just my personal take. I'm not speaking for anybody else or that anybody else should feel that way. That's just how I feel about it.
Paul, you got something to say, Paul?
Well,
Kevin?
I just want to say thank you, guys. I've been asking the question earlier, what's the best thing that's happened to you today? There's been a lot of amazing things that have happened to me, but over the course of the last 1 hour and 47 minutes, I have literally had tears of joy in my eye multiple times based on either, philosophical ideas, vulnerability, father-daughter moments. I'm just in awe of you guys' company and introspection. It's a valuable trait, introspection. And so one thing that I will leave you with is, Aldric, you had mentioned, don't allow other people to write the meaning of your life. That's everybody. That's every piece of feedback, every social media comment, every boss that you've ever had. All that is their perspective. All that is their take on what they see, their personal opinion. Yes, I'm going to be frank. You may be an asshole, and they may tell you that, but that's still their perspective. That's still their experience of you. The only one that truly identifies the answers and can do something about it is you. So I know that episode 11 is all about employees and employers. So can't wait for that one. One of the most valuable leadership techniques out there is the ability to create moments of self-discovery. Anybody ever ask you for feedback? Stop giving it to them. Ask them the right questions to get them to self-discover things that they already know.
That's good, man.
That's good.
Guys, I'm in awe of your greatness. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to be tuning into your stuff. If you want to hear more of mine, we got Fundamental Podcast on Spotify and iTunes every single week. We just dropped one yesterday with Kendall Gammon, who used to play for the Chiefs and the Steelers. Thank you. I don't know what I did to deserve this platform, but I appreciate it.
Hey, Paul.
You were amazing, man. Thank you.
Hey, I want to ask you for one thing.
Yeah.
So I follow your content.
Yes, sir.
Before the end of every show, you have a song. And I told you I was going to ask you. So I love the Hey Alexa. So can you leave our audience, if they watch it tomorrow, what's the song for tonight?
Yeah, man. That's a good one.
Aldric, you made multiple comments about people being zany or silly or off the wall or whatever it may be. That's okay. Accept that authenticity. Whoever you are, accept it. So, hey, Alexa, play Maniac by Michael Cimbello. I'm a maniac, that's for sure. And I'm dancing like I've never danced before. You know what it is, Tim.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if anyone else actually tells you that you are a maniac, because so long as you accept yourself,
that's it.
Those are just opinions.
That's it. Gravitate more towards the things that lift you up as opposed to the things that don't. Live your fundamentalism. Identify your fundamentals. Be safe. Smile often and have fun. That's it.
Thank you, guys. It was a great night, and just remember, have fun. And you're better than mental health, right? We can come out stronger by just believing and writing our stories. Keep it positive. Later.
Thanks, guys.
Take it easy, guys.
Thank you.
Good night.
See you guys.
Night.
Bye. Awesome. Looks like Um,
We're staying on, right? I'll cut the
and
line.
broadcaster.